Welcome everybody to WWDBTV's Meet the Candidate. We got another cool candidate today that I'll introduce in just a moment, but of course I got to do my rant. I've been hearing a lot about my freedoms. I want freedom for this, I want freedom for that. But what I don't hear is with freedom comes responsibility. So if you want your freedom, then you have to step up to the plate and you have to be responsible. And that means getting your butts out to the polls, out to the ballots, and vote all the way down the ticket. Too many people get halfway through the ballot and they go, I don't know any of these people, that's it, I'm done. You know, I got the senator, I got the governor, blah, 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 that's all I care about. The rest of these people on the ballot are the ones that affect your lives every single day. The judges, the public administrators, your city council, these are people that affect you more than any of the federal government. So get out there, vote, and vote the whole ticket. Having said that, I now have Miss Patsy Brown. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And Patsy, you are running for public administrator of Clark County.
Yes, I am.
Why?
Because the people need help. You just what you said. We need to get out there and vote. A lot of people, and just like you said, they don't pay attention to those lower offices on the ticket, those county offices.
Right.
Most people don't even know what a public administrator is.
That's
usually the first question, like, what is that?
That was my second question.
Yeah, what does public administrator do? I think it's one of probably the most important positions because the public administrator's office deals with estates that have not been properly planned. So if you don't have a will, you don't have a trust, there's no next of kin, then the public administrator's office comes in and acts as the executor for the estate. So that's opening yourself up to government seizure or probate court.
Okay.
So your life's work.
So if I die and as long as I've got relatives, I've got children or whatever, then they take control of that, right?
Once we find you. And that's one of the other issues, the public administrator.
That's if, and when you say once we find you, how could you not? In other words, if my kids live here in Las Vegas.
That's easy.
Right.
Right.
But there are, in fact, I just saw a movie here on one of the streaming services about a guy, and this was in the UK, that people who died and, you know, they have to track down their relatives and, you know, who owns their house and all that kind of stuff. So that's basically what the public administrator does.
Exactly what the public administrator
Is that their
does.
only job, or aren't there other duties as well?
There's other duties as far as assessing the estate. Excuse me. Once the estate has an, valued amount, if it is left to probate court or government seizure because there isn't a next of kin, then the state takes hold of the property. And my issue, one of the reasons why I really wanted to run was because I feel like one of the last things that we get to do as humans is that estate plan. It is take care of our kids, our family members when we're not here anymore. So if we didn't do that proper paperwork, then your life's work gets taken.
So my understanding is as well in reading up on you and why you would be doing this, is you are basically trying to eliminate the job of public administrator because you are offering
services for free. Yes, I am.
Some free services.
I am.
And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Estate planning services, and that includes preparing wills, trusts, DNRs, do not resuscitate, medical powers of attorney, financial powers of attorney for elderly or ill parents or relatives, and not just preparing the documentation, but getting that documentation notarized and also filed with the court. So it's on record. And you can't come back in once there's been a passing and say, oh, I have this will, oh, I have this No, it's been filed. And we're doing all of those services for free.
Right.
So I'm really trying to educate. I know it sounds weird, right?
No.
I'm trying to eliminate that job.
I understand completely.
By educating the public, because once again, I feel like your life's work, whomever you want to leave your property to, if it's your dog, your favorite charity, that's your right.
Right.
That's what we work for.
Of course.
And I feel like if just because we didn't file the paperwork or we didn't sign a form, that shouldn't be up to someone else to make that decision.
Isn't it really a matter of education? Because
It is.
most of us are under the impression that, oh, okay, well, if I die, my heirs are going to automatically get my property.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's not how it works. And I've talked to so many people, and I've heard a lot of stories from the public. And what I'm hearing a lot of is that people are just very hesitant. It's very final to do that paperwork. Very similar to getting life insurance for children.
Sure.
People don't want to get insurance for their kids, but you don't want to have a car wash either, right?
Right.
It's one of those
Sure.
hard decisions that you kind of have to make if you want to have everyone prepared for later.
So if you go through this process and you complete it and it gets filed, can it be changed?
No.
So,
I mean, you can change it.
Right,
Yes.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, most
If I die,
definitely.
I can come in and say, hey, you know what, I changed my mind, or I have another
Yes,
kid,
yes,
or
all
I
of
found
that.
someone else in the family that I
Yes.
want to include in this,
Yes.
or whatever.
You can switch it from the dog to the cat
There
if
you
that's
go.
what you want to
Okay,
do.
cool.
But if that's what you want to do, most definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important to me.
So, and how did you get involved in that?
Part of it is personal history. I'm a namesake. I was named after my grandmother.
Okay.
And she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when I was like 19 years old.
Right.
Long story short, prior to her passing, she not only deeded the property that she owned to me, but she also had me assume the loan. So I was very young, learning about real estate and some financial responsibilities and death.
Yeah.
And how that transition happens, how family acts when property is involved. That can be kind of...
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, so it eliminates a lot of questions and family problems.
Right.
When you're able to do it, everyone knows what's going on. And I had friends that weren't as fortunate as me, and I had to watch families literally who you thought were really close no longer celebrate holidays anymore.
When my grandfather and grandmother passed, they had 8 kids.
Okay.
And so it was a battle. And the oldest in the family basically kind of stepped up and slapped people around and said, this is the way it's going to be. And it turned out okay. I mean, it turned out, but it could have been a total and complete disaster because, that generation weren't that sophisticated about some of the workings of the government, and things have changed from their days. So,
Right.
You died, your kid came in and moved in the house, and that was it,
Right.
And it don't happen that way
No,
anymore.
no.
So why do you feel that you're qualified to do this job?
First of all, I've been self-employed since I was 17 years old.
Okay.
I've also worked with my family all of my life. I was a restaurateur back in California, which is where I'm originally from.
Where at?
Southern California.
Where at?
Long Beach, Hollywood, Pasadena.
I went to Hollywood High School.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I worked for the city of Long Beach.
Oh, my restaurant was on Cherry Market.
Oh, okay.
In Long Beach.
Yeah.
And
Wait. Are you familiar with the Blue Cafe?
I've heard of that.
Okay, they're closed down now,
I've
but
heard of that.
they were down on
By the
Broadway and 5th or 6th or something like that.
Okay.
Live blues music 7 days a week.
Loved it.
And I used to go there all the time.
I loved it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
me
had
too. Anyway,
I had a 3-piece jazz band come in on Sundays.
Oh,
For
cool.
Sunday brunch.
All right.
Yeah, so I loved it.
Yeah.
But so I started in the restaurant business. The family business is scrap metal. So we have a factory overseas in China that we've had for, I'm not going to say my age right now, but for 40 years. And working in those industries, I've worked with a lot of different personalities and a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds. What I did learn in business was that I could not get away from payroll, but I could get away from some of those legal fees, which is why I ended up going to law school. We had a financial crisis. I think it was at 2009, 2008 when everything crashed.
Yeah.
And at the time, most of my money was retail, restaurants, family business. So I was like, I need to find a way to make money on a consistent basis that I'm not thinking of or figuring out what's coming in the door.
Exactly.
So I started bidding on local government contracts. So city contracts, county contracts. I got the local funeral home. There was an as-needed cremation service contract for the county of Los Angeles. So when bodies were not claimed,
Right.
the city takes hold of that.
Right.
And I got the contract for the local funeral home, notary contracts, various. But I noticed they didn't pay very well. It was always like a net 60, net 90, net 120.
Yeah.
And it still put me back in that same financial situation. So I moved into federal contracts, which I've done successfully now for about 15 years.
So you're very familiar with Davis-Bacon?
No.
Davis-Bacon? You're not familiar with Davis-Bacon?
No.
Okay, Davis-Bacon Act is if you have a government contract, you are required to pay union scale wages to your employees.
Yeah, okay, so
It's called Davis-Bacon.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
Right.
But I do the UPS contracts, so United States Postal.
Right.
It is kind of its own little section of the government.
Yeah.
When I talked about those financial guarantees.
Because it's a service,
Right.
and that's what people don't understand. They keep talking about the post office losing money. They're not losing money.
No.
They are a service.
We're not only that, we are a protected service.
Yes.
So when they shut down the federal the government
Right.
and all the contractors are not, guess who still's working?
Of course.
My drivers.
Yeah.
And I focus with rural contracts too. So I have contracts from North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, California, Arizona, Nevada, mostly rural. What most people do not know is, and even here in Vegas, I forgot, I'm in Henderson too. You know, the guy who delivers your mail,
Yes.
he might be a contractor, he might be a postal employee.
I know, and people don't realize that.
Now,
Right.
when I started, we were a very small portion of that workforce.
Right.
Now we're about 85%
Wow.
of that workforce. But getting back to why am I qualified for this position, I am accustomed to managing people and different types of people from all over the world, personalities, backgrounds, and all those things.
And how big a staff does the public administrator have?
Their staff right now, I want to say is about, I heard, about 15, I think.
15?
Yeah, a couple of part-timers. What I found really interesting, so the incumbent right now, he is a practicing probate attorney, which is a complete conflict of interest. But what I found even more interesting was that one of his, what do I call her? Democratic opponents,
Right.
Works in his office and has been working there for about 15 years or
Yeah.
so. And I
But
felt
that's not unusual.
to complain about I've never happened to me. It's never
Yeah,
happened to
no.
me.
In the world of politics, I mean, look how many people are running for sheriff that have bitched about the current sheriff.
Well, it was different though. It seemed very personal. Like she was really.
That may be, but it's still common.
I agree.
And to make your point, you have to make your opponent look bad.
Okay, I see.
And so
you said that didn't make him look too bad, right?
No.
Or
You have
for
to
her.
take that with a grain of salt.
Right,
You know.
right.
So and anyway.
Right, but I'm so not used to my staff doing anything but loving and appreciating, and
Right.
I'm the holiday boss, mommy,
Well, you're
school.
in for some surprise.
I probably. They keep telling me that. I'm, Mother's Day. The dry cleaners, she gets, flour.
Right.
I'm one of those people.
Right.
So I probably in for a lot of surprises. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
ready.
you are. It's interesting and it's challenging. So,
I can wait.
so what is the one thing that you want people to know most about you? What is the one thing, if you could only tell them, this is what I want you to know about me, what would it be?
Hard worker. I'm a student of business and I'm a student of life. And when I say that, I'm always constantly learning and growing. In referencing my contracting, I don't only have my own contracts, but I also consult other people. And one of my talents in business is being able to look at a company and find the holes and fix them, which is the attitude I wanted to come in with this position as well. I want to find the holes and fix them. And I try to really leave situations better than I found them.
Cool.
So that's the one thing.
Okay. So what's the one thing that you don't want people to know?
About the 30 pounds I gained during COVID. It's COVID weight.
Yeah,
It's COVID
me too.
weight. It's COVID weight. You know, I was like, Patsy, is that you? Guess it's me. I'm a little thicker now. You know.
Yeah, I understand that. So, do you have any aspirations beyond this particular position in politics?
No.
I mean, most people do.
You know, I'm kind of go with the flow.
See how this goes.
I'm a very spiritual girl. I kind of go where the good Lord leads me. You know, wherever I'm called to service is kind of where I go.
Okay.
You know, I do a lot of work currently in the community already, and I have been for a while. During COVID, my husband and I were delivering tons of food, loaves of breads to local cities and communities. We were working with Project 150, which is the teenagers.
Right, I'm familiar with that.
We do a lot of work with, my husband runs a veterans organization.
Right.
So we do a lot of work with the vets, a lot in regards to veteran housing and things of that nature, veterans treatment court, you know, so we do a lot. As far as political, we just have to see where that, you know, I didn't know I was going to be running for this position, so we have to, you know, I kind of got led to it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Cool. I'm looking at your experience. I'm sorry, your report card here.
Report card.
And it says that under political involvement, you're active in the Republican Women of Las Vegas,
Yes,
Battle-Born Republican Women, Las Vegas Conservative Town Hall Group,
Yes.
Mesquite Republican Women, Nevada Republican Club, Spring Mountain, and Southern Hills.
Yes.
So you get around, huh?
I do get around. I do. Listen, I'm a girly girl,
Okay.
so I enjoy my ladies at
Right.
the groups, and I always learn something, you know. So it's a give and take, but yeah, these women are very politically active.
Yes.
And I really respect that.
I'm familiar with most of these organizations.
Yeah, I love it. I love to see the girls, you know, doing their thing in the politics.
So, okay, so this is your chance now to, you know, tell the people that are viewing, that are watching, anything that you want them to know. Tell them, you know.
Vote Patsy Brown for public administrator. That's what I want them to know.
Okay. And so this is the primary.
This is
right?
the primary.
And so depending on who wins the primary on the other side, you could be running against the incumbent, or you could be running against his challenger.
Correct.
Which one do you prefer?
I have no preference. Probably the incumbent. I probably would prefer, because I already kind of know him and have been familiarized with his history in the position. It's like anything else, you know, it's better to know, you know, the devil that you know is better than the one that you don't.
Always.
So I would say the incumbent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have any plans for the department, or I mean, are there things that you say, you know, as soon as I get in there, I'm going to change this or do this or add this or take this away or whatever?
I do. Starting with the first and most important plan for me is the educating of the public.
Okay.
Because the more I can educate them, the less this particular office has to do. I know it sounds really crazy, but it's going to give us less work, less taxpayer money being spent. there was a lot of complaints about them needing more staffing and payroll. So coming from the restaurant business, from where I come from, if it's slow, you send some of the staffers home.
Right.
You don't keep the full payroll going when you don't have the clientele walking in.
Right.
So I kind of have that same perspective for the office, hoping to educate people, help my Nevadans, as well as help the taxpayer portion of it.
You talk about educating the public about what the office does. How would you go about doing that? How would you?
So when I was in law school, I actually worked at West Los Angeles Community College, and I worked under the dean of distance learning. But working in the community college, I know that I have access to the emails of like 40,000 students. Very similar to the city positions, you have access to once you get hired.
Public records, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So being able to access the contact information will allow me to begin to contact, educate, and one more time, not just educate, but actually process. Not to say too much, I'm a kind of a big dreamer, but for me, I really was envisioning some type of partnership with other state agencies, DMV, Social Security, places that we know people require identification, they gotta go.
Right.
And we wanna have some type of communication desk there, something, or hey, who's your next of kin? Who's your emergency contact? How do we have that information on file at our end?
Right.
So if something happens, we have it and we're not scrambling. I don't know if that's a new little card you carry, a little dot on, the little donor they have on your driver.
Right.
I don't know. Haven't figured that part out yet. But I definitely have some visions about not just educating, processing, and filing, but how it's supposed to happen on a long-term basis when I'm not in the office anymore.
Yeah.
And hopefully, the next person carries on, this type of system because it really helped.
Yeah. So is there a budget for that? I mean, or you wouldn't know that?
I don't know that as of yet, but as in reference to the services that we're offering right now for free, there is no budget.
Okay, so step back just a hair here.
Okay.
When you say the services that you're offering for free,
Yes.
you're talking about personally, not as a government entity, not as the public
Correct.
administrator's office.
Correct.
But you're talking about, okay.
Correct. And then
I just wanted
continuing.
that
Oh
to be
yeah,
clear.
yeah.
Right.
And continuing. But also hopefully I'll be able to do it in office, but continuing having the relationships with the notaries, with the document preps, with some other attorneys and different things that will help donating their time to provide the service.
The obvious question is, so you say this is free, but who pays the people that are preparing the paperwork? In other words, an attorney has to be involved, right? And so is this all volunteers? Okay, these are all volunteers. These are people who have volunteered their time and effort and energy
the notaries,
to do this. Okay,
everyone,
all right.
yes. So I would love to, in office, continue that service, to the public, but on a grander scale, because I need more people.
Yeah. It's something that and this is one of my pet peeves, could be part of our education system. It's an area that I think in my lifetime I've seen the dumbing down of America because
you said
the one thing that politicians don't want is an educated public. And I hear people screaming, well, they're indoctrinating our kids. No, they aren't. They're exposing them to life. And I've heard people say, well, we only want to teach this, this, and this in school, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And we want the students to make decisions on what they want to be when they grow up. Well, if they're not exposed to a lot of things, how are they going to know?
Right.
and so the more that they're exposed to, the more they can make their own decisions. And I think that that's what a lot of people are afraid of. They are afraid of people making their own decisions. So
listen,
that was rant number 2.
Oh, I like the ranting. I think in the decisions are the failures and the lessons.
Right.
And the successes.
Right.
You have to fail a whole. How are you going to know when you got it right unless you got it wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
I have children, and my biggest goal for them, and I tell them all the time, my job is to make sure that you're able to do this when I'm not here anymore.
Right.
So I'm here. Let me guide. Let me assist. I'm gonna let you fall. I'm not going to pick you up all the time. You're not going to learn anything if I keep catching and saving, but you're supposed to be able to do it when I'm not here anymore.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You got to let them out there and do their thing.
And if you don't let them make decisions, how are they going to be able to make decisions on their own when they have to? Anyway, so little side trip there that, if you've watched before, you know how easy that is to do. Anyway, so we're kind of running down here. I want to make sure that we get the information about the services.
Okay.
How can people, where can they go?
So I gave you a flyer just
Okay.
in case. I don't know if you want to post it right here.
Okay.
So this is the program. It's posted on my website. It's posted on the Arm Chambers.
You'll see it up here, okay.
And it's a Legacy Prep program.
Okay.
So they just visit the website. They can Google me, Patsy Brown, Vote Public Administrator. They can go to the Armed Forces Chamber website as well. And find out about the program.
Okay, and the website is www.legacypreppro.com. You see it right there? There it is. Okay. So cool. And if you should become the public administrator, you will have to back off from this legacy program.
Not at all.
Wouldn't that be a conflict of interest?
No, I'm not going to. Well, me personally, the Armed Forces.
That's what I mean.
Me personally?
You personally would have to step away from this.
Yes.
And you'd probably have to let somebody else, like
the Armed
maybe
Forces
this guy
Chamber,
from the Armed Forces Chamber or something like that.
They will continue it.
Okay.
And I will continue even, to push and promote and to educate the people.
Well, there's no reason why, being in that position, you couldn't advocate for that.
Yes, definitely.
Because it does make it's never going to eliminate that position or
Correct.
that department.
No, correct.
You're never going to have it because you are not going to get 100% participation.
No.
But the more participation you do get, that can mean that you may be able to use your staff or your resources in other areas that are more important, whether it's in your department or, hey, we're going to cut your budget this year because your services have dropped 50%. So we'll cut you back so that you can take care of these people, but we're going to use this money over here to do something else. So if that's just a suggestion. So
Definitely.
Okay, Patsy. So anything else you'd like to say, or?
Vote Patsy Brown, Public Administrator. No.
Okay. And as I said, thank you all for watching. I appreciate you coming here. The whole point of the Meet the Candidate is to educate the voters. We do not endorse any candidate that's on the shows or anywhere else. That's not our job. Our job is to let the candidates present their self, and you make that decision. And you better get out there and vote. And when you do vote, take a couple of friends with you, go vote, then go have lunch or dinner or whatever, but just get out there. I mean, this election coming up, both the midterm and the next presidential election is going to be one of the most important in our lives. I can't stress that enough, and I don't care which side you're on, this is the one that's going to determine whether or not we continue as a country. So, Patsy, thank you again for coming in. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
I wish you the best of luck, and I will help promote the legacy here at WWDBTV.
Thank you.
And all of you out there, thanks again. And like I always say, if you're going to do it with styles. Thanks.